Scared Spliff podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Cecil Queef telling y'all to check out YouTube channel Phobophobia Productions. They got movies, short filmers, webisodes, videos, all for fee, horror, comedy, they scratch your itch, spelled with a PH. That's YouTube channel Phobophobia Productions. Check it.
So let's dive into this foreskin deal, dude.
Do you want to start with what do you know?
My understanding is that your point of view, as is the point of view of many, is that circumcision is in fact male circumcision is in fact genital mutilation. Is that your view?
Yeah, any forced circumcision is definitely genital mutilation.
Forced meaning like if it's done to an infant?
Not chosen by the person who the penis is attached to.
Okay.
And does that fall as well with female? What's it called?
Totally. Most people usually understand. They usually get that off the bat, like, oh no, that's fucking disgusting. And I'm not quite sure why there's not the same reaction to males. Like, it's just like this weird fucking cultural meme that persists for some fucking reason.
I definitely can get behind the notion of that it should be up to the individual what they want to do with their body and their decisions, and the decision should be theirs. That I can totally get behind that. That's David. Oh, okay. David. Okay. Like that. That sounds totally valid to me. Like, I think we could live in a world or in a society where we do that. I don't see anything wrong with that. The other side of the coin, which I'm not advocating, I'm just saying that this is what the counterpoint says, is that, Oscar and I have been talking about this just now, and so apparently the pros, the upshot of the circumcision being done involuntarily to a person in infancy, with the decision being made by the parents, is that supposedly it's cleaner, it's much more hygienic, it's easier, it's much more low maintenance, and it increases sensitivity because the nerve endings are exposed, so there's like better opportunity for pleasure, and there's more like physical feeling with the organ, and also,
yeah, basically, like if you get a circumcision when you're older, you can get boners, right?
Right, yeah, like for a while, like you have to heal, and it's this arduous healing process, and you don't get to have sexual functionality of your penis during the healing for a while. So that just kind of sounds like and it sounds like an annoyance. So which sounds superficial compared to like you make a very compelling case about that you're mutilating a person, and in principle it's no different than clitoral removal of infant females. I can dig that. I don't think you're wrong. So that's what the counterpoint.
You summed up all of the common myths, pretty much.
So I mean, like, what's the actual take on it? Is it more of a personal thing, or is it an actual like health-wise thing, or is it an actual like what's the real advocacy behind this?
Well, like, what other body parts do you cut off to keep it clean? That's a pretty absurd argument.
Well, there's internal organ. Like, I don't think I'm going. This is not an argument that I'm trying to win. Definitely not. But there's we remove tonsils. We remove our appendix. There are things that are vestigial pieces of us.
Are those routinely harvested from infants when there's no issue with them?
No, sir.
So that's also another one I've come up. Like, if you can think of it, I've probably heard people say it. I mean, there's random ones that pop up every now and then are kind of humorous, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, to cut off a healthy, functional body part that when there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's really.
Mike.
If you want. Do you know that they also sell the foreskins, and they put foreskin into medical products?
No.
Like facial creams.
That is really interesting.
Whoa, face cheese.
Google Oprah foreskin cream, and you can
get a foreskin cream.
fucking Oprah.
So you're saying?
And also,
sorry.
I was gonna say if you Google neonatal fibroblasts, you can buy some if you want.
What the fuck? So basically, what you're saying is that foreskin is like shark fins.
Yeah, or like ivory tusks from elephants.
It's basically like sex trafficking and organ harvesting.
Oh my god!
Okay. So
Holy shit.
So as far as sexual trafficking, basically, they use that to fuck it. You fuck foreskin.
You can also Google this circumfetishism. People get off to writing stories about this shit, role playing, and like harming children. It's really fucked up.
Holy shit.
Well, that sounds like it has some Venn diagram overlap with pedophilia after a fashion.
Well, like when people say that the penis looks better and they wouldn't suck an uncircumcised dick or an intact penis, then they carve their sexual preference into their child. That's some fucked up psychology shit going on.
Holy shit, dude. That's some deep shit. Whoa.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah, this issue stretches. It pretty much breaks every ethical thing. It affects men, women, parents, children, everybody's relationships. Some kids die from it. They lose their penis. They have painful bleeding erections, skin bridges.
From circumcision?
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the space and you like follow like watch groups and stuff, every now and then it chops up that a baby fucking bled to death because they just bled out from a cut.
Jesus Christ.
So it's not just a simple thing, and it's not some trivial thing. I can't understand why it's done at all.
Holy shit! Yeah, and I mean, as soon as I posted this topic on our Facebook page, there was a guy named Brother K that
dude's awesome.
Yeah, he posted some really gnar information, and I was just like, whoa, dude, like this goes fucking deep.
Oh yeah, I went with some friends and like my whole internet family to Chicago last weekend to protest the AAP. And you can see the pictures on the Facebook. It looked like there was a turnout of about like 80 to 90 people. Yeah, Bloodstained Men and Their Friends is the largest protest group I know of in the United States against male genital mutilation. I mean, it's against, it's basically the whole idea of intactivism is, you own yourself, you have your rights to your body, to your life, just respect people's boundaries, I wouldn't do that to other people. I don't want it done to me.
No, yeah, totally. And I mean, and speaking of those pictures, I saw those pictures when on social media, and at first I thought they were memes because they kind of look like Clockwork Orange people with just like a red spot in their cocks and shit. But but like I mean, after speaking with you, you made it. You told me that it was something real, and let's just touch up on something that you mentioned. What is that group that you mentioned? Like, who are they, and where do they come from? The AAP.
Oh, the AAP. That's the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Okay, so basically,
hey, I've got a friend here with me, and he knows more of the more technical stuff and more of the history stuff. So I'll let him speak.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, dude? So basically, like, what I would want to know is just like a rundown. Nobody really knows shit about this, and if you could first introduce yourself and then just dive right on it, that would be really gnar.
My name is Luke, and I've been protesting genital mutilation for a bit over a year now, and it's something I've cared about very passionately since I was a child. I found out when I was 8 years old that I had been cut, And I was just livid that part of my penis was cut off. Like, why would you do that to me? And so, I guess I could go down the common potential benefits of circumcision and then the harms and risks on the other side.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, this is really just any direction you want, because one thing is listening to just another pediatrician or any other activist talking about it, but you're an actual survivor of this. You're somebody that lives this. So this is an account that somebody's hearing, that it's not just a secondary account. It's just like plain out first account straight from the fucking horse's mouth. So this is your dude. Just tell us everything, dude. Like, educate us and our listeners and people that just literally don't even fucking know what the hell this is, because this is something really interesting and it's super deep and it's serious, you know. So please indulge us.
So the first reason parents circumcise is for social acceptance. Some parents worry that their intact boys will be made fun of in the locker room or elsewhere. Circumcision is much less common than before, so your intact son will be in your company. And kids are teased and bullied for all kinds of reasons. So as parents, we need to teach them to handle that no matter what. You know, if your kid is being bullied for being gay, you don't try to change your son.
Exactly. You don't send them, like, it's not, I personally don't think it's valid to send a kid to, like, a Christian camp to supposedly make them not gay, which is nonsense. Exactly. Yeah. Same follows
All
here.
we have to do is teach our boys that they're born perfect and they have normal bodies, and there's no reason to cut off part of your penis.
It's like body positivity for men, kind of like how women have that going on. It's like men need that too.
Mm-hmm. People's bodies are valid. Yes, totally.
Exactly. That segues well into the next reason, which is cleanliness. In baby boys, the foreskin is attached to the head of the penis, and it protects it from urine, feces, and abrasion. When the foreskin is removed by circumcision, it creates an open wound, and parents have to care for that at every diaper change. So just as parents have to teach their children to brush their teeth and wash behind their ears, they can teach their sons to wash their penises. When the child grows up, the foreskin becomes naturally retractable, and so you just teach your kid the 3 R's: retract, rinse, and replace.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way easier to keep a boy clean when he has foreskin.
Mm.
I've seen some of the pictures of, you go to the hospital, you get circumcised, you think it's all done, but when you go home, you open the diaper up and it's bloody and the child is screaming in pain because he's got a raw wound.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, that's when they realize that they made a big mistake. And it's just really uncomfortable to have to rub Vaseline or anything on your child's penis.
Yeah.
Another thing you'll hear as a reason for circumcising is the prevention of disease, like urinary tract infections.
Yes.
And one of the biggest reasons that boys get urinary tract infections is from improper handling from either doctors or parents. There's this old teaching that you have to pull the foreskin back and retract it in order to clean under it. That's not true. The foreskin is fused to the head of the penis in children and should not be retracted. When it is retracted, it causes injury to the baby, and it can end up causing an infection where you actually need to have it circumcised. So UTIs are not a problem because girls have 8 times more likelihood to get UTIs than boys, even circumcised boys. And we just treat UTIs in girls with antibiotics. So we should just treat UTIs in boys with antibiotics too.
Is female circumcision as the same or like is it as equally the same serious as male circumcision?
There's many different types of female genital mutilation. Some range from a scraping of the clitoral hood, which is analogous to the foreskin. And so that doesn't actually cause as much damage as a male circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
But other forms of female genital mutilation involve amputation of the clitoris, the labia, or even infibulation, which is sewing shut the vaginal opening.
Oh, god damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awful. So our position is that every single person has a right to reach adulthood with intact genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you guys tackle on with certain religious groups or cultural groups or backgrounds that actually follow circumcision as part of their doctrines? You know, like we all already know about, the majority of people know that, you know, the Jewish religion kind of does that. They bris you when you're born. So, I mean, how do you guys tackle on that?
Brit Milah. Well, the bris serves as a baby naming ceremony, as a welcoming of a child into the world and into the Jewish identity. And so we can retain all of that symbolic meaning behind the ritual, but just leave out the genital cutting, or just do a symbolic gesture or reading about it. And some Jews have done that. You can visit Beyond the Bris, the website. There's a book with, and there's rabbis who are familiar with this ceremony, the Brit Shalom. Muslims traditionally circumcise, but not babies. They usually circumcise children when they're a bit older. And if you look at the Quran, it says that, I think it's verse 30, chapter 30 or something like that, that Allah's creation is perfect and it should not be modified. So you can kind of go down that track.
That's insane.
It's an old custom that we don't need anymore.
No, yeah, totally.
And in the Christian tradition, circumcision is unchristian. The New Testament says circumcision has no religious value, and Jesus' sacrifice on the cross means that Christians don't have to make any more blood sacrifices.
Yeah. And has your group or individuals that support the cause ever been called pedophiles or been related to anything like that? Because you guys, I mean, obviously, like talking about that member in the human body, and then mostly it comes in an infancy. Has it been common or anything like that?
Right. Some trolls try to shut us down with spurious accusations, and they say that we're obsessed with baby penis. What we're obsessed with is human rights and making sure everyone's rights are protected. I think it may be a case of projection as well, because they're the ones sexualizing their children by saying, I only like penises if they're circumcised, so I'm going to circumcise my child.
Mm-hmm.
That's creepy and weird. We're saying leave the kids' genitals alone. They're not yours. Why are you even thinking about it?
Yeah, totally.
Most of the world doesn't circumcise, actually. It's just not a thing anyone thinks about.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, as you guys, as a group, as a whole group, and the whole organization that stands against this, what is the generalization as far as with culture or religious backgrounds within the group? Is everybody Catholic, or is it varied, or is it ranging from different cultures that support this cause?
It's varied. it's a human rights issue, and that transcends culture. We have
Totally.
Jewish people, ex-Muslims, Christians, ex-Christians, atheists, agnostics, whatever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I was reading and also I was told that the guy that you guys were in a march. You guys went to a march recently in Chicago. Am I right?
Right.
And how was that? How was that experience? And how was it to advocate for something that a lot of people don't really know of? And obviously, you guys told me that it was a good turnout. So to have that much of a turnout for a topic that's not really well known, like how was that done? Like how did that feel? How was that done? Like how do you stand on that?
It felt great because it just confirms that we're witnessing this history being made. This tradition has gone on for thousands of years, but now I think thanks in a large part to the internet and social media and just more connectedness, people are realizing I'm not the only one who's upset by this being done to me, and people are telling their stories and overcoming their shame. There's a lot of shame surrounding this. And for parents, there's so much guilt and regret. And so to see all of this growth in the movement, it really confirms that this is a historical moment that's happening.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I at first I didn't really know if it was a serious movement until I really saw like just exactly how much information behind it was, and I believe that it is a strong movement, and I think you guys will actually really grow because this is something really serious.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just so deep. I don't even know where to go.
No, yeah, and I mean like, and as far as you guys are from right now, you guys are in Oregon, so is that where you guys live?
Yeah, we live in the Oregon area.
Okay. And would you say that this type of topic and this type of movement is stronger in the Northwest region than any other West Coast area?
Well, circumcision rates vary across the United States. On the West Coast, they're the lowest, like between 0 and 20% in Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, and Arizona. And then they peak in the Midwest around Illinois and Ohio and Michigan, that area, where it's more like 80 to 100% of kids are circumcised.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And it varies within a state from city to city and hospital to hospital.
That's crazy. And we were told that there's also a fetish with this and some type of child trafficking involved with this. Could you give us a little bit more light as far as that's concerned? How's a little bit more information with that, because that is, I mean, obviously everything has its dark side, and this is a dark topic with another dark topic within it. So that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, well, when we're dealing with abuse or criminal activity, it's good to focus your attention on the perspective of the victim. And from the perspective of the victim, you have someone touching you without your consent. And I guess maybe we should walk through what happens during actual circumcision, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well, the baby is brought into the circumcision room, and his clothes are taken off, and then he's placed into a plastic table called a circumstring, and his arms and legs are strapped down, so he's bound and he can't move. Sometimes they'll put a pacifier in the mouth and coat it with sugar water. They say that this is a form of pain relief, but it's actually complete nonsense. Having something sugar in your mouth isn't going to make you feel any less pain from having your penis cut up.
Yeah.
Then the area is sterilized, and sometimes a dorsal nerve block will be used, which is a type of anesthesia where they insert a needle into the penis. That doesn't numb the entire penis, and there's no way to tell if it actually takes effect, so it's inadequate. And other times, they don't use any anesthesia at all. For the longest time, I think wasn't until the 80s when the 1980s, before doctors started admitting that babies feel pain and that they need anesthesia. So then a metal probe is inserted into the preputial opening. That's the tip of the foreskin, and the rod is pushed under the skin to rip apart the foreskin from the head of the penis. It's fused there like a fingernail, so this is excruciatingly painful for the child. The child is screaming bloody murder at this point. And from that perspective of the victim, they don't want to be touched, and they're communicating. They're struggling against the board. That's body language. They're screaming with their mouth. That's vocal communication. They're clearly saying, no, I do not consent to being touched in a sexual manner like this. So the child is being raped. The next part of the circumcision, it depends on what device you're using. There's lots of different methods that have been invented. A common one is the Gomco clamp, and that's where the penis is put inside to the clamp and then tightened, and it crushes the skin, the foreskin, and then it's cut off. So it's absolutely brutal. Children usually pass out from the pain during the procedure, and they go into a dissociated state, where they're just completely traumatized. And doctors will, at that point, take the child back to the parent and say that your child slept through it. But your child didn't sleep through it. They're in shock.
The parent's not allowed inside of to be there for the procedure.
It varies. I think a lot of doctors don't want the parents to know.
That's some fucked shit. Damn. So I mean, what's the main, besides the obvious of, letting people know and advocating of this horrible crime that's actually, it's really shitty, it's fucked, basically. What's the main objective besides just advocacy and complete annihilation of this practice in general?
Well, another thing that you can do if you are circumcised is look into Foreskin Restoration, which is a non-surgical technique of stretching the skin over time that will help you regrow some of the lost function. And that can help you restore some of the sensitivity and give you more sexual pleasure. Another thing you can do is help educate others and come out of the closet to your parents. Tell them you're upset this happened, or if your parents kept you intact, to thank them for that. Let them know that you appreciate that your rights were protected and that you have your whole body. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, this is a really interesting topic, and I mean, it's like, I don't know about the listeners, but I've been cringing the whole time, just fucking thinking my parents said they left my dick alone, and I'm okay with that. But I have a brother that didn't get so lucky. Now that I think about it in that perspective, But I mean,
you got the full package.
yeah, dude, yeah. I'm totally covered on that end.
I'd like to give a shout out, plug, American Circumcision. It's a documentary coming out later this year. It's airing, they're doing film festivals. It's this documentary that's been in the making for a couple of years. I believe it's circmovie.com, but you can search for American Circumcision and find the trailer. But yeah, it's coming out later this year.
Awesome, that's sick. Totally, fuck yeah. And I mean, how could one be involved in this movement? And how could I advocate as well? Like, do I buy a pen? Do I sign somewhere? Do I wear a shirt that says "Don't touch my shit"? Or like, what do I do? Like, what could we do to make people aware of this?
Well, if you've got money that you can donate, there's lots of organizations from Doctors Opposing Circumcision, Bloodstained Men, Intact America, Your Whole Baby's great, Attorneys for the Rights of the Child. There's also another group looking into using stem cells to regrow the foreskin and undo all of the damage.
Oh, so I mean, like, now that you're mentioning stem cells, what is the group's take? Not, I won't say your individual. I'll say, what is the group's take on abortion?
Well, the stem cells they're planning to use come from your own bone marrow, so there's no issue with that ethical conundrum.
All right, sweet. Because I mean, like, I personally, like, everybody to each their own, and everybody has their own choice to doing whatever they want with their bodies and everything. But I was just mentioning that because if the whole group's advocacy is to leave a life alone, maybe some people might be like, oh, well, abortion is, kind of like messing with life in a way. So I was just like, that's just the whole way. I'm just clarifying that, Yeah.
That's a common thought, yeah. Another thing, I like to make an analogy to Harvey Milk, who was a gay rights advocate. He was, I think, the first gay person to be elected to public office. That might not be right, but he was like the city commissioner of the Castro district, and he got assassinated. And but before he was killed, he recorded a message that encouraged people to come out of the closet. And gay people are all throughout the culture. We're doctors and lawyers and teachers. If people really get to know us, it'll undo all this shame and stigma. And when it comes to the topic of foreskin and circumcision, there's a lot of shame and stigma around being intact and having a foreskin. It's often called gross and disgusting and all that stuff. And there's also a lot of shame on the other side of victims for being hurt and having this sexual injury. So I think the most powerful thing that people can do is just speak about the topic more to friends and family, and just get it into public consciousness. And this isn't something to be ashamed about. Yeah.
No, totally, dude, totally. And like, I didn't really know about anything about this at all, and I'm really stoked that we got in touch. And I really hope that the organization finds a lot of good and touches a lot of people and does a lot of change, because this is a really amazing topic. And like, it's just like any other thing that people really choose to ignore, just like mental health. So I applaud you guys really for standing behind something and believing this strong in something, and making other people like myself and my team here with me believe and want to advocate for that as well, because fuck that, don't touch my shit.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, thanks for.
Yeah, and one last question before we wrap this up. What is your guys' take on the biggest battle that we've ever not talked about, which is Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings. Let's not talk about touching people's dicks and talk about some awesome shit.
I think they're both dank in their own right.
You have to pick one.
Oh yes, if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, fuck. Well, I'm pretty sure they got weed in Lord of the Rings, so I'm gonna go.
There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna go with Lord of the Rings too because I like wizards.
There you go.
Fucking A. Hell yeah, dude. You know, and that's just a little nice touch with a bunch of serious shit on top of that. So, you know, we'll leave with that so people won't have nightmares and think about, you know, getting their stuff cut off. Cause fuck, dude, now I gotta get really baked and forget about this shit in a good way, actually. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Contemplate it.
Integrate it.
Exactly, you know, and I challenge people actually, like I always do whenever I have the chance to, you know, go out there and find shit out in the world. You know, the world's a really fucked up place, but doesn't mean you have to ignore it, you know?
Totally.
You know, advocacy comes with change, so that's what we need to do. And, yeah, thanks you guys, dude. Seriously, like, fuck, like, now I really need to take care of my shit better. Fuck, alright. Thank you guys, dude.
Thank you, Luke and David, very much.
Thank you, Luke and David, and thank you guys. I fucking love people from the West Coast and for the Pacific Northwest.
American Circumcision movie.
Hell yeah.
Check it out. Check out the trailer.
Smoke weed every day, yeah. Any final thoughts?
I'm gonna switch to Star Wars and say, "May the foreskin be with you."
Ah, yeah!
Hey everybody, this is Cecil Queef telling y'all to check out YouTube channel Phobophobia Productions. They got movies, short filmers, webisodes, videos, all for fee, horror, comedy, they scratch your itch, spelled with a PH. That's YouTube channel Phobophobia Productions. Check it